Welcome to Water Wizards, where we get inspired by the movers and shakers of the world, those catalyzing change just like water. Welcome, everyone. We have the amazing Ty L with us today. All right, we're live, so I can put that device down and just focus on one. Welcome, everyone. So let me just kind of set the tone. You know, I'm a baby podcaster, Ty. This is only my fifth podcast. So we're just going to bump up against each other and have fun with this. But I was born for this. I really was born for this. So something that I want to be better about is like really setting the stage. I want to bring everyone in. Let's come into the now moment together and really activate the space as a living activation. You know, we are co-creating. And get your water, keep it close to you as the energy, the frequency that we are creating, the grid that we are building together. This frequency will move into your water and help you to integrate the experience more fully. And so just be with us, put everything else down and take this exchange and run with it, because the energy is so powerful right now. Now is the time to activate one another. So say hello in the comments. You are able to click the StreamYard to give permission to show your name. I see Facebook user, so hello, thank you so much. Connect with us. Say hello in the comments in order to connect with our energy. All right, I am like on one this morning, Ty.
Beautiful. Me too.
Oh my gosh. I seriously, I want to tell everyone how I came across your amazing energy, and then we want to learn about you and connect with your energy. So I found Ty on TikTok. It was about a year ago, I think. And I was new to TikTok. Spirit said to me, you need to go to TikTok and build a grid over there and weave your magic. And I was very resistant to it because it felt like I was too old for that. I'm 42, like I'm young, but I had that limiting belief. But I kept getting the nudge and I was like, all right, I'm going to go. And it just blew up for me. And, as I'm like weaving the web of high vibration, as far as who am I going to follow, I came across your energy. And I was like, oh, I see myself in him. I resonated so deeply with you. And what you do is so unique and eloquently presented to the world. And I have watched your evolution. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for calling me in. And so I'm going to kind of describe what you do to the best of my ability. So what resonated most with me when I came across Ty's description of himself was the term quantum architect. I love this. I have used this term for myself before. I work a lot with sacred geometry and building grids. And so Ty is magic. Like I see you as a wizard. I actually had a vision of you as a wizard. We were together and you were building a crystalline lotus energetically and sharing it with the crowd. So that's cool.
I love that.
Okay. Oh, what's so cool. Okay, so Ty is all over social media. I have linked his website in the description here so you can explore his energy. So now let's dive in. Ty, tell us, I would love your description of what your magic is. Like, what is your unique soul blueprint that you bring to share with this world on our expansion journey together?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me into this space. And I haven't had a chance to look too much into what you're presenting, but as soon as I did, I was instantly impressed. And water is one of my favorite topics in general. Just talking the structures of water. I love, I'm always recommending shungite. I don't know if you're familiar with the mineral shungite, but that energetic structure is something that I apply to almost everything just because it is life. So when I saw Water Wizards, I love that. So thank you so much for inviting me into your space. My name's Ty. Most people often know me as Ty L, which is essentially the designation that I've given to the collective version of me. So all of my higher selves, if you want to call it that, embodied. the expression through this vessel is what I refer to as Ty-L. And like Monica said, I could be referred to as a quantum architect, which I'm not huge on labels, but if there was a label that fits, that would be one probably that fits best, which is just really a fancy way of saying that I specialize in working with energetic structures. So just like you mentioned, sacred geometry is an aspect of that. So, and I use a tool that is most often referred to as light language. I like to refer to it as light linguistics. It's essentially a way of playing the energy field like an instrument. And I do that through the movements of my body, using different mudras, also through what sounds like different languages and some interesting sound effects. But it's essentially a programming language that we use to help affect things at a template level, which then translate, of course, since we're all energy, we affect things at a template level of reality, it translates into our physical experience. So I like to use it for the idea of healing. That primarily, I mean, that's a process that we're all going through, but also the idea of activations and upgrades, which to me, an activation is just a way of saying, hey, this is a part of you. This is a way for you to remember more of self. And then upgrades is just, if, a lot of people that are drawn to the work that I do are already familiar with the ideas of healing and quantum healing and light language and those kind of ideas. So there's always ways to upgrade your gifts. You're already perfect, but you can always make your gifts stronger, add more bells and whistles to it. So I guess that's kind of me in a nutshell. I like to say I sling magic. It's just, a fancy way of saying that we play with things I like to look at energetic ideas much like technology, because in some ways it is. So.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. So you talked about the shungite. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay. And you said you put that in your water.
I do.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the magic around that?
Absolutely. So for those that are not familiar, shungite, it's my absolute favorite mineral. It's a black stone that's sourced from Karelia, Russia. It's only one place that it comes from. And what makes it so magical is it has these little energetic structures in it. So not exactly like this, but a soccer ball-like structure like this that is often referred to as a buckyball or a fullerene or a C60. And what makes it so magical is that it has this ability to attenuate negative frequencies. So a negative frequency in this, context is essentially a counterclockwise quantum spin to it. So it pulls energy away from things. So harmful devices, EMF and Wi-Fi, those kind of ideas have a negative spin to it. So it pulls away our life force energy. So what that structure does, it essentially takes that and it spins it clockwise. It neutralizes that quantum spin. And then you can program it as well. So you can add more frequency to it. And I love to mix it with silver. Silver is a very powerful healing frequency. So I put shungite everywhere. Like I've got shungite little discs everywhere. This is shungite and silver. Got it in our water. Got it on it's everywhere in my house. Absolutely my favorite. But yeah, it's great for healing. It's great for clearing. Actually, the scientists that discovered the properties, they discovered it in the 80s, but they actually won the Nobel Prize for it in the 90s for kind of uncovering some of its functionality. They use it to clean up nuclear waste. It's used in water filtration systems. It's really a magical mineral, and especially these days when everything is so there's so much technology, there's so much harmful EMF, and as we are getting more and more sensitive to these ideas, we just need so much more support in it, and it really does take the edge off of harmful frequencies and makes it more bioavailable to our bodies.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would love to know, please share with us, when did you start having conscious awareness of your abilities? Were you like a child and you were doing light language, or was this something where there was kind of a catalyst that kind of woke you up, for lack of a better term?
Yeah. So as I try to go back in my memory, and I don't have the best memory, but I try to go back and remember, okay, when did I really start to come online? And that's a tough one because I can't really pinpoint it. I know that I've always been into like paranormal stuff. I mean, I remember going to the library by myself when I was in second grade and third grade, looking up ghost books and UFOs and Sasquatch, all that kind of idea.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I even remember trying to teach myself ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics when I was in third grade. So I'd kind of always been into these kind of ideas. But as far as like waking up to more of the full on woo, I think that took some time. So I would say that I was a pretty normal person in a lot of people's perspectives growing up. I did all the normal stuff. I played sports and did a whole bunch of extracurricular stuff. And then what happened is when I was about 24, I got very sick. So I started getting really severe headaches, and ended up finding out that I was diagnosed with a serious condition. And so there's essentially there's cysts in the spinal cord and throughout the nervous system.
Okay.
And so this was a really serious thing. It ended up putting me on my back. I was pretty much unable to work. I was really unable to function. And so when that took place, I started to get into meditation through a more Western approach to it. So my psychiatrists and my psychologists recommended meditation to try to help manage the pain. Yeah, and because I'm very like logic driven, I'm really into the science of stuff. It made a lot of sense the way that we did it because it was based on like biofeedback. So it was a lot of looking at your heart rate. You're looking at the brainwave states. You're looking at like the EEG, so you can see what different states feel like and what those look like through these systems. And so I dove into it really intensely at that point. And in fact, it was so intense that I would almost never sleep. I would just meditate. So I'd meditate like 8 hours or so a day, and then almost never sleep, a few hours every few days. So I got into it at that point where I started to get more into more spiritual ideas. I started collecting a lot of stones and such, but I didn't really understand it. There wasn't really anybody in my reality that really I could converse with these ideas about. And so what I like to say that I kept hitting the snooze button. Like I would end up like kind of waking up, and then I would just go back to sleep. I'm kind of waking up and go back to sleep. And then eventually I found energy healing. And once I found energy healing, I actually got to experience it. It was like game over at that point. I'd been introduced to it in some ways, but it was all just like cerebral. It was just ways of trying to like, I thought I knew it. I thought I understood like metaphysics, but until you actually start to experience it, it completely changes the game. So, found energy healing, and then I was just all in. So I pretty much at that point, I was, looking into, I was going to every group circle that I could go to. I was on every, Facebook group and just absorbing data. And I had already been absorbing a lot of data already. Having been mostly in bed most of the time, I was able to absorb a lot of information that I wasn't quite using, and I didn't quite understand why I was absorbing it all or why I was into so much of that data.
Yeah.
And then once I started to get into these healing, do more and more healing, I started to heal things, from your childhood, of course. You start to heal things then through your adulthood. And then you start to heal things that come from quantum spaces, what people might perceive as past lives, future lives. Of course, it's all happening here and now. And when you do that, sometimes that comes with some interesting side effects. And you start to integrate aspects of yourself that have certain, let's just say, different perspectives. We can these aspects maybe come from these other quantum realities, and that's when things can get activated. So through that, I had got my light languages activated, and I didn't quite know that it was a thing. So I think that my light languages and my light linguistics had been activated for some time, but I didn't know it was a legit thing at all. So I just experienced it in my body as a lot of tension, a lot of discomfort. And then once I saw other people that did a similar type of coding to me, it was like, boom, all on. It was like all on, like everything came streaming in. And then when I'd actually heard people speaking light language at one point. And I was like, oh, no, that's great. That's cool. That can be for them. I'll figure out what my thing is. That's not my thing.
Gibberish. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm like, that's cool. I didn't have any like super hard resistance to it, but I was like, okay, I didn't get it. Kind of, my ego was like, nah, I'm good on that. And then, of course, the universe has a sense of humor.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I love that. Okay. So Before we finish up, like toward the end of this broadcast, will you share? Do you feel comfortable to like share a little bit of light language with us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the best way to experience light language is to experience it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So now y'all, you need to hang on for this ride because stay to the end. So I will tell you that the experience that I have with you and your gift of light language and the way that you share it, just full on, like you just let it flow in a way that I've never seen anyone or felt anyone let it flow. I want to share with you something that I experienced when you said yes to coming on the podcast. I would tell you, if you say yes to one of Ty's offerings and working with him, your field will start rearranging immediately in the best way, highest and greatest good. I felt that. And so I too am very clairsentient. It is a claircognizant. It is a knowing and a feeling for me. And when you said yes, I started having experiences with a conscious awareness of my field rearranging. And I would love to describe something to you.
Yeah, please do.
So I've ever since you said yes, I've had multiple experiences that have been able to connect to you directly because Spirit showed me. Sure. I've had a couple of experiences in nature where I have seen the sacred geometry within the leaves and actually seen the essence of the leaf. Over the past 3 days, I have had a close encounter with a doe, a close encounter with a large black snake, and a close encounter with a hawk, a couple of woodpeckers. And this morning, I did one of your activations, and because I have a gift for you at the end. It's a surprise. And so what I do is anytime I interview someone, I always will dive into their work. Now, you can't dive too much into this guy's work all at once because you've got to let it integrate because it's like, and I know better. So I did an activation this morning. And after the activation, I had a scheduled healing session with a client of mine. You were there. Okay. She came to the session and I was feeling the energy like it was, I kept having to go outside and ground because I could feel the beautiful rearrangement going on and our co-creation. We were working together in the quantum. And I'm like, okay, Ty, Mama's got the ground. So I went outside a couple times, came in to do this healing session, and I'm sharing with her, like, this is going to be a really gentle experience with no specific direction because the energies that want to come through, they know exactly what needs to happen. And we're just going to hold the space. So I felt, and I'm curious what comes up with you when I say this, I felt very strong Arcturian energy while I was building a grid with her. And this is what came in, is we built a truth armor out of unconditional love that was actually, the way I saw it for both of us, is fractals of crystalline, unconditional love, energetically building a grid around our bodies. And it was like a metallic, like silver. It was silver reflective. And what I was given was, we are building a grid of unconditional love from every perspective of you, from all space, time, and dimension. So her and I. And this is the now. Like, this is the represent, like, we are all experiencing the now, right? It's just fractal. It's different perspectives across all space, time, and dimension. And so I'm like, thank you, Ty. I'm telling you, just coming into your field has activated a newness within my work, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's totally the type of architecture that we put up to. We usually refer to that shiny stuff as chromium, like an iridescent kaleidoscopic chromium is probably one of our favorite frequencies to work with, especially in the architecture. So that's beautiful for sharing. Not surprised, and that happens a lot. And sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable at times when we activate each other or come into each other's field, and it's kind of like bumping into so much intensity at times, and it can be a little overwhelming, especially as being clairsentient, as I know that you are. It can be a little intense. It's funny because I'll have that experience a lot of times when I'm in public. It used to be really, really hard. I would really feel everything. Didn't want to go out into public much, just because I would feel everything, and I would instantly start coding and like my eyes rolling and all sorts of weird stuff happening. And then yeah, it's just over time, you know, you start to kind of recognize that what's actually going on, and became a little bit more confident in it instead of being like, oh no, this is a negative thing that's happening, and then kind of like owned it. Which when I did that, I realized that when I would go into people's energy field, or they would come into my energy field, we would instantly start to exchange data, information. Yeah. And so their activations were happening, especially like if I were to go into like a movie theater and be sitting around a bunch of people, like for the first hour or so, I'm like jolted, my eyes rolling, and I'm like sweating and everything. And then like halfway through the movie, you can feel the energies finally shift and release. And then it's like, oh, you can just tell everybody's like glowing, everybody's feeling a lot better. And I'm just like, whoo, okay, good. And finally get to watch this movie.
Wow. Okay. So how did you learn to, you know, like moderate or modulate this experience for yourself?
You know, it's a process. Honestly, it's a continuous process. Especially the way that I do my work, particularly, it's really upgrade focused. So it's like there's no real breaks. You know, this whole week I was going through a massive upgrade process and still just barely coming out the other side of that now. But it's, you know, and you just gotta readjust to your new sensitivity over and over and over again. So I think it's just first of all, the recognizing that, you know, it happens, I think is key, because the human wants to put up so much resistance to things. Like we don't know what's going on, especially, you know, when we're getting bombarded by things that come from, you know, space weather, because, you know, we receive upgrades and we receive all sorts of data from the sun. That was a big part of what was going on this week. And so some people may be experiencing that and not even know that it's a thing. And these are things that are supported by mainstream science as well. There's lots of studies that the solar flares and coronal mass ejections deeply affect our physicality. So knowing that it's a thing, first of all, I think makes a big difference. And then like allowing yourself to surf the waves rather than like fight against them. And then just be patient with yourself, you know, and recognize that we're not alone in it. I think the more that we can communicate with each other as a collective, it becomes easier. We realize, okay, well, okay. We think that something's wrong with us most of the time. We think that we're sick, or that, you know, it's not supposed to be this way, but really we're just stepping into more of who we truly are. And that looks different for each of us, but, you know, some of us are more sensitive in physical ways. Some of us are more sensitive and, you know, seeing and perceiving it in other ways. So just getting to know yourself makes a huge difference.
Beautiful. So what about your daily practices? What do you do? What are your non-negotiables? Your energetic non-negotiables to, like, because I mean, we're all getting smacked across the face, kicked in the shin. It's like everything is shifting so rapidly. Will you share with us what some of your daily practices are to keep you like, connected, grounded, not flipping out?
So one of the most important things that I do is essentially set up my structures. So you can call it shielding or armoring, or I call it gridding. I try not to use terms like protection too much, just because it implies some kind of defense. So essentially, you're just keeping structures that hold what's right for you in and keep what's not right for you out. It's as simple as that. And so I work a lot with my own, some of the structures that are just part of our templates. So our base 12 templates, and what we might refer to as a diamond pillar. It's just part of our organic architecture. So I build out my diamond pillar, and then I put some other structures around it. And then I'm always doing clearing. So that's the first thing I do is set up my structures and clear. And then I go through a process of commanding personal space, which it can vary. It can be about a 20-minute process where I clear contracts and we go through and we do, take things out that don't belong, any kind of energies that, things that have taken place in the dream states, because a lot of us are really doing a lot more than we can ever realize in dream states. And we bring those back sometimes. And then I blast myself with some starlight from different constellations, because the stars we get information, we get data from the stars, and we get our power, we get energy from the planets. So I connect with certain constellations to bring through some codes that will help kind of with that motivation, determination, confidence moving forward. And what else do we do? Yeah, we do clearing. I like to work with clearing pyramids. So these are, placed through the knees. They shuttle around the body and help transmute energy. Oh man, what else do we do? A whole bunch of that. I pump myself full of like a bunch of frequencies, like self-love and perfect health and confidence, awareness, angelic frequencies, diamond, dolphin, dragon, you name it. So it's got like a cocktail of these different
I love it.
programs that I run each. Yeah. So it's pretty much, I go through like a bit of a protocol. I do a number of things. And just pump me up in the morning, and then I go through and then we do just the stretching and, try to help the physical body as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's really, that's my next benchmark. It's like for my next upgrades, I have to get the physical body in its best condition it can be, because that's a huge part of the more that you're working with higher frequencies. It
Yes.
really puts a lot of stress on the physical body. And having had issues with physicality, when I had experienced, it's been hard. It's, that's been my hardest area that I'm trying to really get much better at. So making sure I'm taking care of that is high on my priority list right now. But yeah, for the most part, I just go through a quick protocol and setting up structures and
that's beautiful. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And so I feel called to really impress upon the viewers or the listeners that it's all about intention. It's all about intention. You may not have any physical feeling, seeing, hearing, feeling of calling upon a form of sacred geometry, but your soul knows, and it's really happening. If you set the intention, it's happening. And the more you do it, the more awareness that you will have of it. It just is about consistent, intentional action, doing things differently. And so, like, what a beautiful myriad of things, of tools that Ty just expressed to us. Take a couple that resonate with you and see if it's part of your unique blueprint and if you're called to that, because that was a lot of magic you just shared. That's amazing.
Yeah, can I share just a really simple structure that can be really helpful, especially if you're just kind of getting into these ideas. So a really simple grid, if you want to call it that, is you just bring your awareness into the center of your chest, and you just spark up, just set the intention to spark up your own signature love frequency. You can see it as like a little spark of light in the chest, and you really want to build that out. So you, like a little star that you grow to fill your whole chest. And then we're going to take that soccer ball structure, that buckyball that we mentioned that's in shungite. So it's what we may call a truncated icosahedron, but essentially a soccer ball shape with flat sides on it. And then you intend to put either chromium mirrors, like chrome mirrors, on the faces of it, or silver mirrors, because those have healing frequency to it. So you place those mirrors on the outside of it and on the inside of it. So it reflects in what's right for you and reflects out what's not right for you away, but with a healing intention as well. And then you just expand with your intention, with your imagination. You expand your heart and you expand that structure so that it goes all the way around your field. So if you were to extend your arms, at least you couldn't touch the sides of it. And then that's it. This is that simple. But if you do that consistently, I would recommend to do it every few hours if it's new, just because our structures don't, it takes time for them to really solidify. And the more you do it, the more strong they are, and the less you actually have to do it. But it's still good practice to do it. I would say at least 3 times a day, especially if we're getting bombarded with a lot of energies. I can kind of like take a hit, kind of like in, sci-fi movies where, the shields are down 70%, 45%.
Reactivate.
Right, exactly.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And I just kind of walk myself through that process as you were saying it. It can be that simple, right? It can be that simple. But then we also get to make it ceremonial too. Like, I love just going outside and sitting on the earth and just creating a space with Mother Earth and just being there and allowing what wants to flow through. And then when you take that time to just be in the stillness and just be as quiet as you can, as the thoughts come in, we don't want to fight against them. We can just say, I hear you. I'm good. Thank you. And then, let Mother Earth speak to you, and she'll deliver animals and just all kinds of magic in that little sacred ceremony that you just create with intention and stillness. So that is beautiful.
Connecting with the earth is really, really helpful. Listen, like, I think one of the most powerful practices, period, is simply to listen, to feel to what's already there. A part of my practice, I like to go through and just talk to every single part of my body, starting from my toes, and ask my toes, hey, is there anything you want to tell me? Is there anything we need to know? going through the feet, going up through the legs, and working with the different constellations that are connected to these areas as well. So you can call in the constellation of Pisces into the feet, and you can look these things up. And so talk to the feet. Is there anything we need? Maybe give them a little rub, because that's always helpful. It's connected to our whole body. Then move up through the legs and then to the shins and calves. You can connect with Aquarius. You just go through your whole body, connecting to the different constellations, and listening. Just, it's simple. Like listening, as we know, when people listen, it's healing. Sometimes we just need to be heard, and sometimes we forget that we can listen to ourselves, and feeling is healing. So and then we are able to sit in that space and actually feel and listen. That's when we start to get a lot of these downloads that we talk about, right? We just start to get these ideas that come through, because it's already there. You're already perfect. It's just we're trying to hear who we are most of the time, and it's like listening to like a whisper at a death metal concert or something. It's subtle. We have so much noise.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like to consider ourselves like music. I love to use the analogy of music, because as we know, we are frequency. We're vibration. We are our unique song. Each of us have our own signature frequency. That's our own unique song, and it's perfect. And no other song is like your song. It's absolutely perfect. But the idea of like healing to me is sometimes it's about getting rid of the noise that's in our song. It can be that whisper that's hard to hear, and that noise can come from our unprocessed emotions through traumas, or even other people's music can be in our music. So healing to me is really about releasing the noise from our energy field, so we can hear our signature frequency, so we can really just truly be who we are. Because that's all we need to do. For me, my perspective is that's the idea, is to remember who you are and to choose who you are in every moment. To remember a new version of yourself in every now moment. But
I love that. So another question coming in, I'm curious, do you have conscious awareness of some of the galactic, we call it heritage connections that you have?
Yes.
Will you share?
Yes and no. So yeah. So what's kind of weird about me is I'm connected to a lot of things. I've worn all the costumes. So it really just it really just depends on the functionality. So the expression of the energies that I'm working with in whatever moment it is. So sometimes, like you mentioned, the Arcturian aspects are going to be more beneficial in certain situations. But really, my kind of thing is I would be considered a shapeshifter. So I've pretty much played everything in this universal structure. So to some people, they may perceive me as a wizard type. To other people, they may perceive me, as an Arcturian type. Really, if you were to see me, I'm pretty much just like all code in this universal structure. That's my as much as I truly am, it can only be seen as impossible code. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's a shape-shifting kind of energy. But yeah, I work a lot with every different type of expression of being an entity, and that's kind of where my strengths are. So that would be the idea of Tai-El, is like all these different aspects of self that can shapeshift. But because of that, I'm able to go and help people connect with more of who they are in ways that they maybe aren't usually able to access, just because I've already hold the codes and keys to access a lot of these different versions of self. And again, just connect you with more of who you are. And that's through your design, right? If anybody that I'm working with somebody, it's all them designing this process that I've been invited into that helps them remember more of who they are, which is, I think there's no better gift.
Yeah, I love that. I love to remind people that these words you manifested, right? Like you manifested these words through me, and I'm not doing any healing. I am simply illuminating and opening up the awareness to it, and you get to say yes to it. Just the empowerment within that, it's like this constant reminder to not seek outside of self. We all have tools to offer one another, but the ultimate guide is self, right? The ultimate guide is self.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Now, something else that's coming through that I have to share with you is, and I don't know why I'm sharing this with you, but when you talk about the cysts on your spine. So I was a nurse before I came into the online. I am a nurse. I'm a spiritual nurse now.
Yeah.
And I worked with spinal cord injuries, brain injuries in the last part of my career. And I guess I think I'm just saying this for the audience really, is that any sort of pocket, a tumor, a cyst, uh, anything like that it's a pocket of energy, right? Everything starts as energy first. And so when I mean, it kind of makes sense with the way that I experience your energy, that, you keep hitting the snooze button and you have so much energy that through you, you're just upgrading so rapidly that it's like without some sort of focus, awareness, that spinal column, that central column was just full of cysts, all of these pockets of energy. And so you are a perfect reflection of really, spirit calling, right? And then what really happens for you, the power of the energetic realm to heal our physical body. Anything's possible, right? Our body innately knows what we need. Our body will innately protect us, even if it doesn't feel good. And you're a walking testament to what energy healing can do. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a crazy process. It was really frustrating in the beginning of trying to figure out how to manage it and heal it. And I was going to all sorts of readers and other healers, and I wasn't really getting a lot of progress. People weren't really able to tell me much about me in ways that I was seeing other people be told. Just now looking back, and actually now I can see, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why people couldn't explain it. But it really did motivate me and push me to figure out new ways of doing things. Like I was constantly, okay, well, that worked a bit, but not enough. That worked a bit, not enough. So picking up new modalities, and I like to say different recipes. There's recipes for healing, and finding the pieces that work and creating my own recipes from them. But it's pushed me in directions that it keeps forcing me to go deeper and deeper, especially because of how intense it is. I can't hide from the intensity of how it comes through. It's like, I can't not do things. Like I can't not have, seek deeper healing. It's really continuously makes me upgrade. And even as time goes on, I'm finding out more and more angles, like more multidimensionality of why I've chosen for this to express in the way that it does. And it just gets more and more complicated, but it just keeps making more and more sense at the same time. But yeah, it's very interesting, and especially as we uncover more layers to things and go, oh, so right now I'm in that phase where I'm uncovering stuff that I'm like, I don't believe it. Like how can that, like the stuff that's coming up, I'm like, oh, I'm going to need some more data before I buy into that kind of idea. But we'll see.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. And then something else wants to come through. It just left. It may come back. Hold on just a second. Okay. Oh, okay, this is what it was. Can you tell us a little bit about you really openly stepping into mission? And so I just love to inspire people to have the boldness and the bravery to allow the bigness of their true self to flow through. And the journey is different for all of us. I needed a kick in the shin to actually move forward with grounding this part of my mission. I mean, we've been doing mission all our lives, right? But will you tell us a little bit about your experience? Like, I don't know if you came into the online space first, you started doing things in the physical. Like, what was that like for you to move through and like, okay, I'm going to let it flow?
I honestly don't know. It's been a process. I first started to do a lot of in-group work. So I was going to every like healing circle I could find. I was going to every metaphysical fair I could go to, and I was just absorbing data and picking up new modalities and figuring things out and just trying to understand and get more information. And through that, of course, I found energy healing, and that's where I knew my passion was at. I knew that that this was something that I was really going to be focusing a lot on, was energy healing. But of course, part of that, I didn't recognize it was going to be the light language stuff. So I had no idea about that angle of the energy work. I thought, just the idea of kind of like Reiki, I was like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. And then eventually the light languages started to come out. And so the activation, when I first started expressing my light languages, it was it like literally forced it out of my body, because I had resistance to it. I was like, no, that's other people's thing. It wasn't for me. And so it literally squeezed my lungs and my body until I started making sounds, like the archetypal sounds. And then those evolved, and it just kept going. And for hours, literally the first time, it was squeezing out a different dialect every few seconds for hours. And I wasn't even able to speak English afterwards. I had no idea. Like, I was, what is going on with this? Because I had seen other people do light language, but I'd never seen anybody do what I had experienced or anything close to that. And all the different, like the mudras and such, it was so much different than what I had seen. So I didn't know what was going on, honestly. So I was kind of like tripped out about it. And so I just went diving into and looking into more about these ideas as much as I could. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of people that were able to really assist me. I had a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. So through that, and being kind of the type of person I am that really needs to understand things, I'm very left-brained in a lot of ways, really need to have that structure and understanding so I can express it without too much resistance. So I had to play with it. I was constantly playing with it. I tried to understand it from my own perspective. And so that's why I've kind of like uncovered my own ways of articulating the things that we do. And I probably wouldn't have come out and done it in the ways that I did. Like Spirit pretty much forced me out the door to start sharing. I was slinging magic for a while. I'd like to do it through music. And I actually had a really interesting experience where I astral projected into a different version of myself. So I went into a different body, and it happened to be a version of me, or these are all semantics, but a version of me that was actually working on the TikTok algorithm. So I went into this Chinese dude in China looking out through his kitchen window, and I started getting these downloads. And so I was like, okay, well, so I started to look a bit more into TikTok. And I was like, oh, they do music, right? That's dance music thing. I was like, oh, I can do that. I love that. And so eventually Spirit was really pushing me. All right, you got to make these videos. You got to do this kind of a thing. And I had no idea. So got TikTok, put it on, did just some coding thing. And I was so ready to be just destroyed. I was like so ready for people to, eat it up and just like totally not get it. And so I was ready with all that logic that I had accumulated. I was like, okay, now I know how this works. I am like 100%. There's no doubt in my mind how it works, because it's so intense with me. It's not like, oh, maybe I'm making it up. It's like, no, like I'm like forcing me to make these sounds. So I know it was legit, but it was just for me trying to find the ways to describe it to people, to be a bridge. That's really one of my main roles in all of this, is to help bridge people wherever they're at in their understanding, so that they can make sense of it in their own way, because it's not separate from logic. That's why we call it magic. It's just technology that we don't understand yet. And that's why we call it light codes. And, this is the structures, and really wherever you're at, there's a way to bridge that gap in understanding, so that you can kind of allow that left brain to be like, okay. Once you know that it can work in a way, it's not just all made up. It's actually, there's some science to it. You can let the human kind of relax a little bit. And once the human relaxes a little bit, then it's like you're tapping more into that inner child, and you're playing. And that's where things just happen. That's where the magic is in that play. So yeah, TikTok, I think, was great for allowing myself to play, and allowing it to come through. And then it's just evolved over time. And it's a constant evolution process. There's still aspects of myself that I hold back a lot, just because it's so strange. Even in this world of where I do this and it's fully accepted, some of the stuff would still be really intense for me to express all the time. So it's a constant process of letting my human ego relax and recognizing it. You're going to be safe. We're going to evolve. The ego structure is going to be scared to change into a new version of self. And so just constantly reinforcing, hey, you're safe. And whenever we do cross those boundaries, you're fine. We're just a little bit different, and we're a little bit more like ourselves. But yeah, so it's a process.
That's so cool. So how long have you been on TikTok? Do you know?
I think it was late spring of 2021, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So I got on TikTok in December of 2021.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. You do great. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. Now, see, that's when you talk about the algorithm, like I really went into TikTok and I said, I declared it, I will blow up very rapidly because I have a huge message and there's such a huge audience. And I did. And then I kind of was like, oh, that's weird. So then I sat at the same number for probably a whole year. And now I've started to, as I've allowed this next level of expansion to come through, things are growing again. Now I've also done a lot of somatic work. I do a lot of breath work and a lot of EFT tapping to keep my body on board. And so that rapid ascension it's not hurting as much. But I also I've got 3 kids, and I'm like steering the ship here. I mean, it's a co-creation, but like I'm their person, you know? And so I have chosen a little softer of a journey where I would say people look at me and say, wow, she's rapidly evolving, but it actually it's felt like a bit of a drip to me, which I think some people watching this would be like, are you kidding me? But here's how I'm perceiving it, which is how I designed it, and it's all perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for everything that you're sharing. Like, this is a full-on activation. This is what I wanted to say is somebody's light language is going to be activated just without even the light language that you're going to share with us. Like, for real, somebody's light language is going to be activated. And I'm probably going to start like singing tones that I've never sang before. Like, this is all an activation, just the conversation, like boom, 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 like pew, pew, pew. We are so exchanging codes here. So freaking magical. So what I want to do before you share an activation with us, thank you in advance, is I want to try and screen share. I don't know why I had a problem with this earlier. I don't know that I'm going to be able to. If I can't, I will grab the actual creation that I have here. Yeah, I can't share my screen. Okay, note to self, use a different browser. Let me write that down. It's the browser that's blocking me. Okay, I'm going to grab something that I created for you. This is my favorite part of the podcast because nobody knows, but we're going to blow up so big that people are going to be like, I know what's coming. Okay, hold on. I'm just getting in my freezer. Well, I'm not getting in my freezer. I'm opening my freezer. So this is like a bit of the uniqueness that I was like, what can I do that's different, you know? And just this download came through that like what you need to do with every guest is you need to get a little thing of water and you need to hold that water while you do their activation and allow set the intention that something within their unique expression, their unique coding flows through and codes the water. And see the uniqueness of the water. And so I took pictures and I wish I could screen share, but I'm going to show this to you the best I can. Now,
I love it. Totally.
I will send you a picture. And guys that are watching or listening, I will post a picture. Do you see, like, there is like a structure there. It actually, oh gosh, it looks like the tree of life almost to me. Do you see the trunk? Like there's a trunk and it looks like there's all these leaves up here.
Oh, I love it. That's such a good idea. I love that.
Beautiful?
Yeah, ice is amazing. Like capturing the structures of energy through ice is like so underrated.
Let's see if I don't think I'm going to be able to oh, look, that's a little more of a capture there. Can you see it a little better now?
Yeah. I love that.
Isn't that cool? It's very structured.
Yeah. So you're going to hold that when we sling magic?
Absolutely. Okay. Now I don't want to let it melt. The last time
right.
I haven't taken pictures of it yet. And I was like, oh shit, it melted.
Yeah, it might melt pretty quick. It's okay.
So I screenshotted what I showed her. But anyway, so I wanted to show you that just as like gift of your uniqueness that I just want to celebrate in a different way with the world. So thank you so much for showing up for us. And is there anything? Oh, before we do the activation, I did post your website. You are like rocking TikTok. What is your TikTok? What is it?
It's Tyel Heals.
Okay, Tyel Heals.
Yeah, TYEL Heals.
Okay, check him out on TikTok. Go to the website, and all of his socials are linked on his website and offerings. Is there anything that you have coming up? in the future that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so we just did our first monthly upgrades. So we're going to be doing more monthly upgrades. So each month we're going to go through and do the process in a group, like over Zoom, where we just super hardcore go into upgrades and activations. So we just did that, which is why most of this week I was recovering. But then on this Sunday, we have a class. So I'm going to be doing a different class with the different subject each month, and this one is on light linguistics. So just going through my perspective on how all this stuff works from kind of like a scientific perspective in a lot of ways, how light language works and the different ways that it comes through, and if you have it activated, how to use it in practical ways. Because I think a lot of people, we get activated and we don't know what to do with it. You might start just speaking funny languages, but you don't really know what to do with it. And so that's part of that class, is we're going to be showing people how to apply it. And of course, in it, we always do an activation as well. So we always bring through the intention to do some kind of activation. This one, of course, is going to be the intention to activate people's light languages. So if you're ready for that, that's part of that process. Activate it and then learn how to use it. Or if you're not quite there, to start expressing it, because a lot can come with having your light languages activated. It would be that process of moving things out of the way so that you can align with more of self and it can come through authentically. Because we're always diverting, or it's always up to your highest self what comes through. We won't bypass that, because some people, it can be a little intense. So, right. But yes, so this Sunday, there's still a little bit of time if people are interested.
Amazing. And that's linked on your website?
Yep. You can go to islingmagic.com or ty-el.com. It'll send you similar places, link trees and stuff.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, everyone get comfortable. Is there any directives that you have for us before you gift us?
Yeah. So first, I would just always recommend for people to set their own intentions. So set your own parameters for what you receive. Even if I have the highest intentions on my side, always set your own boundaries. And if it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. We're not trying to force anything on anybody. So first, use your own personal discernment. And I always like to set the parameters that, first, I'd like to ask everybody's highest self to step in. And then the aspects that are relevant for whatever should come through for each individual for the highest good only, we're going to ask them to step up. And then, of course, in the transmission and following transmission, no harm will be done. No energy will be taken that is not freely given out of love. It'll be in alignment for the highest good of all only. And only those that are open to receive will receive, and only what's meant for them. And we're just going to set the intentions of whatever your higher consciousness wants to bring through for you today. It feels like some kind of an activation of light linguistics in some way is going to come through for most people. But I would say don't get attached to what it has to be or what that looks like. Just be open. This is a process. It's a process of remembering. And this is just to assist in that process to help calibrate you and move you into more of who you are, so it can happen naturally for you. And that's really the most accelerated way to do it anyway.
Beautiful. And so what about for those who are listening and cannot see the picture? Are they still receiving?
Absolutely. Yep. So this is all held in the quantum field. It's kind of like, a lot of this stuff I could even just say a few words, and it would be kind of like a shortcut on a computer where you open it up and you open up the program and it all runs automatically. So yeah, don't feel any need to watch me. There's no need to. You don't even actually have to hear me. It's just the intentions that you're setting to actually receive, and then the rest will play out as it's appropriate for you. But yeah, so I would recommend to also relax your eyes for this one. So relax your eyes. You don't have to watch me. Relax your eyes. Relax behind your eyes, and then relax your jaw. So this just helps the energy move through our brain and down through our neck, so that these areas can be more accessed. And then just relax. It might make some funny sounds, which is perfect. It's totally normal. If you make sounds, I also invite you to feel comfortable enough to let out whatever needs to come through. See, utsa ta 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 ta. Utsa ta 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 ku etu ya kandari ta 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 ku sorchesi frasi prasindo tani ritutarina musatarta sasi kunin paripasi. We're just going to first assist in intending to work with your higher consciousness to build out your diamond pillar. So that's just going to make sure that we're working with the right type of coding, and that we have what's right for you in and what's not right for you out. Rishantor Shanmarta Cascur Kepebraia Tunda, Terenguri non carta Paris, Hatanenguya, Ripusa Sataningur Cayuro Tomborna, Rintuda Mutani Nakar Casquera, Prescitea, Tamata, Tumuntu, Taripi, Kurikpu, Kurapa, Danasa, Riasure Tanfrete Pearindoco. Ricona do Cotarquis que were commandor both Wafarakini, Kiru Tau Koroma Rafarana, de Braio Uecorasian Firantusa, Rishusha Tast, take higher tast, and Otea Muridima, Jibuya Sutipakane, Gutkusku, Riquea, Correcamba, the Codarca Severiki, Montibroco, Seveki, Rukuyan, Gutarime, Barugut, our Rotomanji Brocudas, Sweat, Artis, Rasi, Barcunanto, Kutanimborana, Gibrandori Mataruto Sofrashi Atari. Charisha Ratsandar Tisikuti Kanikutaki Morgota Bota, Bracuni Kurota, Merito Saya Shokota Piama, Brakiun Nukotarenkun Samia Kataki were Piarianto, Japrakia Kiangori Shairoko, Yako Pukura Pandareko Tayasha, Yabrasho, Taris, and there shall have Wakrakna, Ikrakna, Torea Sunya Karayarantorna. Pranjuria da tukane waturina sorti paraci manse di kuterke se vivekinu kuti portapinga kuterke vivekinu de piarda chagimor di barkuni kuterke se vayando kuterke di marakuteri papaki war di barkuni ni kuterke poso ya wak de wak na wak kiamantu wak meruka ayo koendare ko kayo kutare tu sifra shandare to kuski koyama pramburi mamar tanyo kusuha frasi monto savanantur me mehakui de witu tambre ti fiash de correction dori to koska yekoden tambro to konrimai repuri tere bundar to kosever timro ko to kosever gine ko to gimro ko teranto ba pakragia ku tar kana ki wati je ki wo kwara taparasi fer ti basarato de ambrafa la fratuti atsamba kanun kantana je wakiano kata tankanto kamor tabebe shwati asasa su kondori peshiuto recane ko dori kesete kimur basu di parata tu mar patrikino kibrota je pro torte per shefe hansore shwata para per ungi or di pro di maio paio gogor tasore yashana lo iuleko lo iuli ya quando ka ingol leko shangale ko daweshi bokri ingol shati ko reshendo yayo Ringoya shana hatariyeshi da kanna de kuku de paratama kibra. Chepra yeroti kan de posate de kudere giya ta chepra yesundere to sa ta swatara ishakana de bayari. Chepe or yimar kudara de sa har de kosi kimra kudere de kuswara ta bringi de de amar de mindure marota barando yoto. Porto harro sondar shandar tikka yakuro to ya da mambre na ya. Beaturi mandan do de waswara fasi frasi in cantona ndimo. Timu karema naturi pasa farashi katsa beatsa asur tufa rahiso tabunda mama hatorekwe de cuero taura tatarayana Gibraya luko tamiyarata paku ke wako tata kusum bikuti parati sakan kuti prokete Giprotuti avanzare kotre pafakim bute porshopata kim prokete parati nekter ki perienum kotre kusuero ki pariatu prapatar yesigere hasarata hafrafi hata porshemet kotanen kotre porshiatu retasu tatarte feambu prasuki paetu pasu farashi hardiese frasi bratia porshuman porsha fokube ekwen fakuse patu pafiese okura tafire fakue sambasi people shut the All right, and then we're going to use a grounding code that's just going to help bring us back down. It's going to actually help to ground us into a higher density. So I'm going to take out 3 rainbow-colored star tetrahedrons. I'm going to place a code in each one. Place one in your crown, we're going to place one in the heart, we're going to place one in the root. We're going to explode the crown, explode the root. Good. Confirm. All right, you can start coming back to planet Earth whenever you feel ready. No rush at all. Take your time.
That was cool. Amazing. If anyone feels called to share in the comments what they experience, that would be epic. But you may just want to stay in this space and just click off. Do what feels right. That was amazing. I'm hot. That felt really good. I felt a lot moving through my crown, but also my heart space. Like, I actually felt like a pulsing front and back of my heart chakra, and my whole up, like waist up, was just lit.
Yeah, we removed some stuff off the shoulders in the collective field as well. I think we're carrying a lot on our shoulders, so that we can access more of that heart space. So that's really where you're at. So open that up a bit more, and then also assist it down as we go high. We want to also manage the low. So also move some stuff out of the back of the sacral and kind of help us tap into more of the creative field. So yeah, I would just say be open to what comes through for you. For some people, especially if they're new to this, they might be a little interesting. You might have some interesting dreams. The dream state might be a little different. So don't be surprised if something takes place in the dreams where you're like, well, that felt like a really vivid dream. Because a lot of times that work will continue on. It's essentially, it's just an activation as a starting of a process for you to bring these things through authentically for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I see a question. I'm going to let you answer this question. Will listening to this on replay be as beneficial?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. So this takes place in the quantum field outside of the limitations of what we might perceive as space-time. So yeah, you can go back and you can play it. If those that are watching this back in the replay know that it's just as potent. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing a lot of the things that I do, like for instance on TikTok, where it was recorded at some point. You can go back, and actually playing it a number of times can actually be beneficial as well. I like to do things in sets of 3, but follow your intuition, follow your guidance, and have your own intention set, and just be open to allowing the magic to play out in the ways that it's going to be best for you, whatever that looks like.
Perfect. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us. This has been just next level magic. You are absolutely amazing. Please go check out Ty's offerings if you feel called to his class on Sunday. Just dive in, follow your intuition, and everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all of the comments. Everyone is saying thank you. We've got tingles, deep yawning. Someone said my eyes are leaking profusely. Yes.
Yes. Because we really got to release release so we can make space for more of who we are to really expose
Let it flow. Let it flow. It's so healing. Someone feels high. Nicole feels high. All right.
That's whenever I do them, I'm always like, woo, it takes a little bit before I come down. So.
Oh, I love it. And then someone also used the term, Elizabeth commented here, and she said, Maldek the wizard.
Oh, that's fine.
That's cool. Okay, in closing, may I ask you one last question?
Of course.
Yeah. So, do you have awareness of who or what type of energy is, or what aspect of you perhaps is coming through with any given like intonation or, type of tone that you're making?
Yeah, so we really, I'm always encouraged not to try to segregate them and split them up.
Okay, I love that.
They're essentially just expressions of energy. So even if we were to say like assigned, okay, this one's a Arcturian or whatever, it wouldn't be fully authentic. It wouldn't be true, because they're always a mashup and a mix up. And yes, some of them may be more, you could associate with certain different types of star beings, but in truth, they're just different expressions of self. It's just like wearing a different hat. Sometimes certain vocalizations are going to be more efficient in certain intentions. So certain more intense ones may come through at certain times when we're working on something specific. But honestly, it's kind of like swearing. You could say, you can say the F word, and it has, what does that word mean? It depends on the context and how you're saying.
Yes. Okay. I like that analogy. That is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's really, what I'm always encouraged to do is remind people that the more we try to put it into boxes, the more we take away from the multidimensionality of it and the power of it. So the human really we really want to break things down and have it in nice little neat boxes. But the reason why this stuff is so powerful and so effective across the quantum field is because it's not limited by those ideas. It's just playing pure frequency. So playing your harmonics. But
I love it. Oh, that's beautiful. What a just beautiful explanation. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We're going to sign off and send so much gratitude to you, Ty, and everyone for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to learn more about how I support all of my mission work, Kangen Water, please check the description.